Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon to all partners of the cities and countries that join us today. On behalf of the United Nations Office for South-South Cooperation, it is a pleasure for me to facilitate today's webinar called Results and Opportunities of the Pilot Initiative on South-South Cooperation Between Cities on Sustainable Tourism. My name is Muriel Lobon, and I will have the pleasure to be your host today. I would like to especially welcome today members of the Cities Cluster on Sustainable Tourism, partners of the Cities Project of the United Nations Office for South-South Cooperation, members of the National Association of Mexican World Heritage Cities, cities participating in the report, Experience and Practices on Inclusive Sustainable Tourism in Cities and Localities in the Context of South-South Cooperation. Also members of the UNESCO Network of Creative Cities and the colleagues of the teams of United Nations Office of South-South Cooperation and the UNESCO team, the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, especially the Mexico team. That is very early in the morning, so we appreciate the connection and the work on this event today. Today is an opportunity to gather the city partners from across the Global South to share knowledge on the opportunities of South-South cooperation on sustainable development, on sustainable tourism, on heritage protection and creative economy. We will start the event today with a presentation of the results of the United Nations South-South Cooperation Office Cities Project, the pilot initiative implemented by UNESCO Mexico on sustainable tourism, in association with the World Heritage Cities in Mexico. In the second part of the event today, United Nations Office for South-South Cooperation will present the features of the South-South Cities Cluster on Sustainable Tourism, a platform on the South-South Galaxy, in which many of you city partners can continue exchanging, sharing knowledge, and brokering partnerships with other cities, with governments, United Nations agencies, academia, civil society, and other partners. So let's begin. And nothing better when we talk about sustainable tourism than presenting a nice video of the countries and the cities that have participated in the Cities Project initiatives on sustainable tourism, either through the pilot project that we're going to present today or through the cities clusters. So please, if my colleagues can, we can go ahead with the video. Thank you. There's a problem with the audio, I think. These are some examples of the cities and the countries and the cities that have participated with us. Many in Latin America, some in Europe and the CIS, some in Asia, Africa. The city partners of the Cities Project go across the regions. And the emphasis of this initiative has been mainly in the cities of Mexico and Latin America and Asia. Thank you so much for that. Sustainable tourism can and must play an important role in the reactivation of socio-economic development and in providing sustainable solutions for people, for the planet, and bringing prosperity and peace. As tourism activities are closely related to cultural sectors such as heritage protection, creative industries, and artists, they become key players in sustainable tourism. This is why, in cooperation with UNESCO Mexico and the Mexican Association for World Heritage Cities, the UNOSSC, through the Cities Project, launched a pilot initiative in Mexico to improve the capacities of local authorities, small and medium-sized enterprises, and communities to achieve the sustainable recovery of local tourism and exchange practices through South-South and triangular cooperation. The South-South Cooperation on Sustainable Tourism Development in Mexican World Heritage Cities is a project that reinforces the protection of the exceptional universal values of the World Heritage Cities of Mexico. It has strengthened the positive synergies of sustainable tourism and culture within the framework of the SDGs, and it has promoted knowledge sharing and cooperation between cities in the Global South. To present the key results of the project, allow me to please introduce you to Carlos Tejada. He's the coordinator of the culture sector in UNESCO in Mexico, who will present the main results obtained, the products of knowledge, the knowledge products generated, and the lessons learned and future forecasts for collaboration. It's a pleasure to have you today, Carlos. Over to you.
Hola, Muriel. Hola a todas y todos. Me da mucho gusto estar con ustedes. Y pues un poco en la línea de lo que
Following the lines of what Muriel was saying, I wanted to, first of all, highlight the role and the place occupied by tourism among the sustainable goals, sustainable development goals of the Agenda 2030. As you know, tourism is integrated into two sustainable development goals. First of all, in the Sustainable Goal 8, to be in charge of dignified employment and decent work. And this is also in Goal 9, which calls us to promote the development of public policies enabling us to generate employment, decent employment, through promoting local products and cultures. In second place, in the Sustainable Development Goal 12, that is focusing on sustainable production, and the Goal 10 invites us to survey the results through producing cultures and promoting local cultures and products. Within the context of the pandemic of COVID-19, which brought about the need to be able to unfold appropriately in the digital environment, this project, this collaboration project emerges with three different parties: UNESCO, the South-South Cooperation Office of the UN, and the Mexican Association of World Heritage Cities. The first goal is to strengthen the capabilities of the cities to be able to develop or unfold in the digital environment. And the second goal was to be able to go through a process to socialize and increase the knowledge regarding a concept that is very important for the UNESCO, but is not very well known outside the technical fields, which is the exceptional universal value. The universal exceptional value is the criteria based on which a cultural or natural environment is part of the list of the World Heritage of UNESCO. This criterion that is known technically because it's based on scientific elements, historical elements, nonetheless, for us, is the essential imprint of the sites included in the World Heritage List, because that's what makes them unique and unrepeatable. In this sense, in coordination with the Mexican Association of World Heritage Cities, we carried out this project where what we wanted to do was to, first of all, promote Mexican cities on the UNESCO list to place the exceptional universal value as a core element of the narrative of the production. We thought that in this way we were contributing to generate an activity that would, first of all, ensure the conservation of heritage. The first step that we carried out was to develop an evaluation, a needs evaluation process through questionnaires, through interviews, through research, where we evaluated three elements. First, the degree of application and instrumentation of what we know as sustainable tourism in these 15 Mexican cities. In the second place, the degree of knowledge that the managers of these sites have, the degree of knowledge they have regarding the criterion of universal exceptional value, and also the tourism of the cities, to what degree they know this exceptional universal value. And finally, we carried out a study regarding the capacity and the degree of development that these cities have institutionally in the digital platforms. We're talking about TripAdvisor, we're talking about Airbnb, we're talking about Facebook, Twitter, and so on, all these digital platforms. Based on this, we first of all designed, based on the results, we designed a training course for the social communication areas of tourism of these different cities. It was a course that was highly innovative, very novel, and the results, out of the results of this course, we brought out the first product that you can see on screen on the right, which is this guide for cities to be able to promote themselves as destinations of cultural heritage in the social networking. It's a very complete guide that goes from the establishment of the goals, the vision, the mission, until carrying out a communication plan, mechanism to monitor and evaluation, and also a risk assessment plan, and to be able to establish partnerships with other parties of stakeholders, and to be able to generate reports, impact reports of the campaigns carried out through the social networks. Second place, we carried out later on a call for proposals for participation, so cities of the global south could be able to provide a sample of how they were carrying out tourist activities in a strict link with the sustainable development goals. And through this call, we later on were able to carry out a global reform on sustainable tourism that is in process, and we will soon be able to be presenting to you. Finally, I would like to let you know that the step-by-step process and all the results and all the studies carried out are also compiled in proceedings of all this project. The abstract in English can also be found on the Galaxy platform. Well, I just would like to deeply appreciate the United Nations Office for South-South Cooperation, Muriel, Danny, Rafael, to also appreciate enormously the Mexican Association of Cities of the World, Patrick Ortega, Sacramento, the great alliance that we have in Mexico with this association, and to immensely express my gratitude to the two spectacular consultants that carried out most of this process, which are the that are directly in charge of these results, Lisette Salazar and Caroline Pouret. My enormous acknowledgement to your work, and also the team of Luis, Alejandro, and of course, I want to also appreciate Gerardo Carmona of the creative city of Querétaro. In Mexico, there are 15 World Heritage cities. Out of these 15, 4 are also creative cities. So this project has also helped us to establish a link between World Heritage and the creative industries in cities. We think that there is a very natural relationship between these two activities and tourism. So I will stop here and allow the experts to delve more deeply into these topics.
Thank you so much, Carlos, for your presentation. It's a very exciting project. We are very proud of it. And it's been a pleasure working with you and the team for the past year. And yes, thank you so much for the great efforts and for bringing the cultural aspect and the heritage aspect to the sustainable tourism that was so important. So now, as in representation of the main beneficiaries of this project, I would like to give you Jorge Ortega, the president of the National Association of Mexican World Heritage Cities. Thank you for being with us today, Jorge. We know very busy with the tourism event in Mexico City, so thank you for coming very early, and the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. And as General Director of this Mexican Association, we are very proud to share some of the results, to share some of the view that we have about this wonderful project. As you know, Mexico is the 4th country in number of cities inscribed in the UNESCO World Heritage List. We have mentioned this several times, only behind Spain, Italy, and France. And the 4th part of the cities considered World Heritage in the American continent are in Mexico. So making it number 1 in the region. In this sense, the Mexican Association has established in 1996, and it associates the municipalities to create synergies through a network structure to manage resources, generate alliances to guarantee continuity on the application of public policy, on the application, of course, of the Convention of UNESCO. And Mexican World Heritage Cities Association seeks to consolidate itself as an innovative organization. And of course, this kind of projects help us a lot. Tourism activities are systematically related with the culture. Thus, cultural sectors such as cultural heritage, creative industries that has been mentioned already, and artists are key agents for tourism. To better advance the role of tourism and its synergies with culture for a suitable and inclusive development, we found South-South cooperation as a modality that encourages solidarity among persons and countries of the South to support each other in the attainment of shared development goals with horizontal approaches. This project has developed capacities and skills of local authorities, SMEs, and communities. This will, of course, this will result in higher efficiency and improved tourism value chain. Hence, ultimately, household income and also to reduce poverty. This project was been built for several months, and we are very satisfied to have focus on the communication of exceptional universal values and build this digital strategy. I think we are going to listen about from the experts about this digital strategy. Through this project, we bring together representatives of international organizations, Mexican, Chinese, Cuban, Peruvian cities, and the private sector from Latin America and the Caribbean to exchange good practices and experiences in sustainable tourism, including the particular measures taken to protect world cultural and natural heritage to respond to the COVID-19 pandemic, to discuss the role of potential of South-South and Triangle cooperation in the growth and recovery of the tourism sector in cities, especially in helping SMEs, as I already mentioned, to recover better. and to facilitate partnership among multiple stakeholders from the Global South for sustainable tourism in cities. South-South cooperation has helped us understand local challenges and increase knowledge on sustainable tourism practice and heritage preservation through in-depth technical assessments and capacity development. We achieved to improve involvement and mobilization of key stakeholders and cultural, creative, and tourism SMEs, following a participatory approach through engaging local communities, local governments from Mexican World Heritage Cities, and I want to thank all the Mexican World Heritage Cities municipal authorities that participated actively in through all these projects. And of course, we all working in the framework of the United Nations 2030 Sustainable Development Agenda. So thank you, UNOSSC, thank you, UNESCO, thank you, Muriel, Carlos, everyone. We are very happy in this project, and we are looking forward to continue working with all of you. Thanks a lot, and have a good day.
Thank you so much, Jorge, for being the first supporter of the cities project among Mexican cities, and also for guiding them towards expanding the horizons. I know you did a lot of promotion and of talking about the add value of South-South cooperation for the development. So we couldn't have done this project without you and the cities. And thank you so much. You're South-South cooperation champion. We need more champions across the globe. And this pilot project, as the name says, is a pilot. So we begin here and we can expand. South-South cooperation is about expanding and doing cooperation across regions, across cities. So the pilot project on sustainable tourism had an important focus on the promotion and protection of cultural heritage through digital media, as Jorge and Carlos just explained before. So I would like to invite now an expert on the subject. That's Lizeth Salazar. She supported UNESCO in this element of the project. So thank you for coming today, Lizeth. Adelante, please.
Hola a todos. Gracias por la invitación. Gracias.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for the invitation. It's always a pleasure to be invited to these meetings. I will talk a little bit about the work we carried out throughout last year through the joint work with Carlos to strengthen capabilities, specifically within the field of cultural tourism, to be able to promote and give tools to the Mexican cities that are part of World Heritage. I will delve a little bit more deeply into the work that we carried out. Can we see the next screen, please? The next slide, please. Can we have the next slide, please? Well, the project, the contributions of the perspective of how much has changed since we developed this guide, this handbook, up to now, what are the trends, and which are the possible opportunities that come out of the management of social networking and digital platforms. Next slide, please. Especially, the mission was to design and implement a program to strengthen digital communication, specifically to promote exceptional universal value of the Mexican cities that are World Heritage. Based on this goal, we carried out 4 key actions. The first one was, as Carlos mentioned, to carry out analysis of the digital presence of these cities, to be able to analyze the context, and also a questionnaire of the digital competencies of all the stakeholders participating in the management of these digital platforms and social networking. When I talk about digital platforms, I'm referring to social networks specifically. Based on all this information, we were able to propose a 3-step plan to strengthen digital communication. The first one was online workshops, like Carlos mentioned, 4 workshops organized based on the results of the analysis of the digital presence of the cities, then a handbook to strengthen the management of communication in a much more concrete way, an aspect that we couldn't see in the workshops. And the fourth point was a checklist of actions, from simple to complex actions that all participants could develop throughout the courses. Also, a communication dossier. This dossier focuses on being a tool for the city and communities that want to work creating content, and they require clarifying concepts about what the exceptional universal value is, what are the particular areas, what we refer to by all this vocabulary regarding culture and the World Heritage Cities. The workshops were organized based on the diagnosis of knowledge that was carried out in the first part. They lasted 2 hours. They helped us not only to share certain tools or processes that could help all participants, but also to listen to each other, to know about our concerns regarding the implementation of these communication strategies or the different issues that each city was facing. The topics go from theoretical approaches to be able to have a vocabulary that can allow us to approach the digital marketing elements and social networking until the design of specific objectives, which is related more to planning, until the editorial design of social network. These 4 sessions were divided into 4. The first and second sessions were basically geared to the foundation of the communication management, planning, the goals, which are the real elements that we want to achieve through publications and the content that we're providing, and also give the foundations for good best practices to communicate the exceptional universal values through examples that helped us to place the context of how others do this work and how we can do this work ourselves. The participation, we had very good results, since in the sessions there were always between 13 and 14 cities that were present throughout the sessions. There was more than one participant per cities. This helped us to get to know that there is a high motivation to carry out initiatives in the digital platforms. The handbook has 3 missions, specific missions. The first one was to reinforce a knowledge that we couldn't cover in the workshops. The second mission was to generate materials that is specifically addressed to the cultural tourism, to the cultural and social cultural potential of these cities. And this can generate ideas to generate content that can be placed on these channels, specifically the cultural heritage and the universal. And the third one is to acquire knowledge out of each one of these cities. One of the characteristics of the digital media is that individuals that manage them are constantly renewing their skills, their technical skills, and other kind of abilities that they can have that help for communication. Next one. Carlos already mentioned it, and he showed the images of the guide, the handbook. This is not a theoretical academic text, but it's a practical text that can include tools. For example, at the end of each chapter, there are questions that the managers could ask and the stakeholders could ask and see whether they were doing things or not. Perhaps we can consider this idea. It also includes links to other initiatives that can feed us with ideas. One of the most complex aspects of maintaining digital platforms is the ongoing creativity that is needed for them. So it's very good to have more resources and to be able to come up with new ideas. Well, the results of all the initiatives that we had throughout this process. There was a first approach to the state of the digital presence of the cities. This marks a point zero, so that in the future, when other studies are carried out, we can see the changes that have taken place, or that there is more presence and more networks. So this will allow us to explain advances as of this point zero. The guide and its use in the different cities is very important, so that it can be not only within the reach of the communication managers, but other individuals who are interested in knowing how they can communicate. And also in the case of the dossier, there was a test stage of the contents, whether it's adjusted to cultural tourism. There was a positive response. The response of many of these people was that they thought the material was very interesting, because I didn't know that this city had this, that, or the other. I didn't know that this other thing existed. The next one, please. The perspective. From a year to now, things have changed a little. There are a lot of challenges to be faced at the level of digital communication, and this is a global issue. So this also affects sustainable tourism and creative industries and cultural industries. We have a big challenge to face. We have to create new content. Right now, the content, the video content is very important. So we have to develop contents of this sort, and this is highly complex. What we're observing is that there's a greater professionalization of the teams that develop these content, new profiles, and increasingly more technical profiles. There's a trend that is moving towards natural communication, the capacity to summarize in 30 seconds, to be able to socialize knowledge. Next one, please. We are facing the attention age, i.e., we are increasingly watching these videos and their effectiveness, in as much as the public places attention to the 30-second videos. This is a very important aspect for all the communication managers, specifically in sustainable tourism and cultural heritage. There is a challenge to be faced regarding turning this entertainment, which is social networking, to turn this into means of acquiring knowledge, specifically through maximizing the knowledge regarding local territory, the environmental impact of the initiatives. People are more and more sensitive to these content. And I think that's one of the most important areas that points of destinations have, and also to differentiate the marketing practices from dissemination practices. This is also very important at a level of digital platforms. We're also seeing that the short videos and the content that is being consumed digitally, so if the landscapes, the buildings were perfect, that's not enough. What is working is to allow specialists to speak, that the people that are retrieving the works, the people that are organizing exhibitions, people that have environmental initiatives in the territory can inform us about what is happening in the different projects, and also to explain and to teach. Videos which are tutorials, so that to show us behind scenes. Like, for example, the museums in Madrid that are showing us what the warehouses are like. They have much more success than the photos of the works. Social networks are cold, although it might not seem so. So we need to humanize them and to allow people to get to know the processes underlying the work. And this is very successful. The next one. And to summarize, And this is something that we took into account when we carried out the dossier for content creators. Collaboration is of key importance. The more collaboration there is between the creators, institutions, and all the agents that are responsible, and all the sociocultural environment of the destination points, well, social networks will have more success. It's not a campaign, it's not a photograph, it's not a photo calendar, but it's carrying out activities that we actually believe in, that we're committed to. This People are becoming more sensitive to this, and this opens us up to new audiences, which is also important when we want to increase our visibility. And that would be all. Thank you very much.
Muchas gracias, Lisette, por la thank you so much, Lisette, for the presentation. I'm sorry, switching to English now. And thank you for focusing on the people-centered sustainable tourism. I think it's a very, very important aspect that we are very pleased to see that it was done. We were very pleased to see the reaction of the cities and the impact it has had. And especially in the cities who are part of the pilot and the many others that can learn from this. You talk about collaboration between partners at the city level, either the city government and the small, medium enterprises and the communities who are part of the tourism, but also expanding this to exchanging and collaborate with other cities and exchange practices and learning from each other is the next step. So thank you so much for developing the capacities and looking forward to them. Okay, finally closing the first session of today's event, we will present an activity that went beyond the project pilot. Due to the great partnership between UNOSSC and UNOSSC and UNESCO, both organizations decided to put together a joint publication on global experiences and practices on inclusive sustainable tourism in cities and localities in the context of sub-Saharan triangular cooperation. And this is a report that will gather good practices from the global south, beyond just the ones that were seen in Mexico and in Latin America, but from all the regions. This report aims to inspire and invite relevant stakeholders and partners working on tourism and initiatives in cities and localities across the global south. So to walk us through the process of putting together this publication, we would like to invite Caroline Couret to work with supporting UNOSSC and UNESCO in this task. Hello, Caroline, and the floor is yours. Thank you.
Hello, good evening. Buenas tardes a todas y todos. Agradeciendo la invitación en este encuentro.
Good evening to all of you. Thank you for this invitation. I would like to highlight that it has been a challenge to synthesize this work process in a few minutes. So my goal in this session is to transmit my enthusiasm for not only the report, but the whole exchange that took place with all these projects and city representatives throughout the world, and in fact to deeply appreciate for having become so involved in this work. I would like to say that in the first moment, we received forms with project descriptions, and very quickly, through some webinars and exchanges and meetings, we saw how we were all sharing the same passion and the same creativity. And I think this was the nexus of this report, to understand how a common issue, as we have said, which was experiences and practices of sustainable and inclusive cities in a context of South-South cooperation and triangular cooperation, could have an infinite number of interpretations and of advice that can be adapted to practically any destination point, any place of the world. And this was expressed by looking at the context. We're talking about projects that had unfolded in the context of the pandemic, where creativity was the engine or the only impulse, the only resource to allow us to develop a new model and precisely to make use of this context, to bet on new sustainable models and to turn tourism into leverage or means to reach these new models. So the challenge, in fact, has been to understand how all these projects could eventually be applied to a diversity of contexts. We were talking about initiatives of community tourism in Salvador de Bahia in Brazil, for instance, in Honduras, in Mexico. We were talking about ecotourism in Chile or in Morocco, tourism, digital tourism in China, also cultural and heritage and community tourism in India. And in that way, it was a challenge to see how we were going to highlight criteria where each could use for their own experiences, their own context. So in this brief time, I will not aim to give you a description of each one of the projects. The goal will be for you to be able to discover this through the report itself, but perhaps so it can call your attention and you can see that these are concepts that in whatever continent we're located in, these are concepts that are actually having an impact on us. I just want to describe the criteria we used to do this work. The first one was the criteria that is the reactivity, flexibility, and creativity that are in fact essential criteria for any city. We consider, especially from South-South cooperation, we consider cities to be laboratories of a perfect scale to experiment pilot projects that can be replicable in other cities of the world later on, because they can offer this reactivation in order to be adapted. We are in a very unique context that encouraged this experimental stage. Another concept that was also unfolded due to the pandemic was circular economy. We're in a context, in a closed context of a limited movement where we had to rely on the natural, cultural, creative resources and technological resources too at a local level. So with these elements, each project that you will discover in the report has had to orchestrate these resources to find new pathways that in fact demonstrated their level of creativity. Highly related to circular economy was transversal management. For decades, this seemed to be difficult to conciliate, especially administratively. We saw how difficult it was to work with cultures like agriculture, tourism that seemed to be antagonic, but based on the projects and the strategies that we will show throughout this report, we can see how it was possible to not only articulate, but also create synergies between these widely diverse sectors. And finally, one of these elements was digitalization. So it is very interesting to see how each of the cases that were presented makes use and optimizes the use of digitalization precisely within the context of the pandemic to carry out their initiatives. So in some cases, it can be a tool to empower the local communities that can make use of this to train, to learn, to reach another level within their projects. In other cases, we saw, for example, in China, digitalization became a touristic project itself. So I think that these are ideas, that these cities allowed us to open up in order to incorporate, adapt, adjust to other cities in the south. In the end, what is common to all the South-South corporations and triangular cooperation is replicability, i.e. to think how we can adjust these principles, these strategies, obviously without copying them. I respect, optimize, and take into account the DNA of each destination point, but taking advantage of these best practices and exchange of experiences. In this sense, to point to the fact that it's a report that allows and gives a starting point to conversations between these different cities, and it opens a space to networking and to increasing cooperation between these places and South-South cities. So I encourage you to continue the process of this report, of these highly interesting projects. And I would like to conclude by appreciating again the teams of UNESCO Mexico and all the representatives and project workers that have been highly collaborative in this work. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Caroline, for walking us through the process of the report. It was indeed a very exciting, it was very exciting to see the response from the cities across the Global South. And they submitted the practices, and now it's selecting the best 10 practices was not easy, but the criteria that you just mentioned is going to be good and clear to make the report a good knowledge tool, so cities across the Global South can use it. Because the idea of South-South cooperation is knowledge sharing is to create cooperation. So it's great that that the process is going forward. We can mention now that the report is being finalized, and we hope to invite all the cities in the cluster of sustainable tourism for the launch very soon. So now we approach the second part of today's event. We would like to start with the presentation, by introducing a small video that explains the logic and the use of South-South cities cluster under the South-South Galaxy. Please, we can move ahead with the video.
City-to-city cooperation has become a very important vehicle for the advancement of the Sustainable Development Goals on the ground. The United Nations Office for South-South Cooperation created the Cities Project, designed to identify needs and offer support to cities on needs assessment, capacity development, advisory and advocacy, partnership brokering, co-financing and implementation support. In 2019, UNOSSC launched South-South Galaxy, a virtual knowledge-sharing and partnership brokering platform that enables Southern partners to access information, resources, share good practices, and collaborate. This digital repository has over 380 institutions that have shared over 700 good practices and innovative solutions, and latest news on South-South and triangular cooperation. The South-South Cities Clusters is a new online community that brings cities to the South-South Galaxy platform to interact and exchange with UN specialized agencies, experts, and partners to facilitate city-to-city horizontal cooperation and exchange. The 7 thematic cities clusters were created in response to partner cities' interests in sharing, connecting, and engaging with other cities from the Global South. UNOSSC and the South-South Cities Project welcomes all cities and partners to join the South-South Cities Clusters.
Well, as you could see in the video, the UNOSSC has created a digital platform for knowledge sharing and partnership. With the launch of the South-South Galaxy, the Cities Project saw a great opportunity to create thematic communities of cities that could take advantage of the platform. So we will we are going live today in this event. So we thought that it's about time that we stop talking about the conceptual of the platform and we start sharing it with you. So I'm going to take the opportunity to share my screen, and we can please say okay if you can see my screen right now.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So as you can see, this is the South-South Cities Cluster, which is the South-South Galaxy is a global platform that was created for all countries in the world, in which you will find government, United Nations agencies, all partners involved in South-South cooperation globally. So the South-South Cities Cluster will be the arm of the South-South Galaxy and focus on cities. So as you can see here, there's a description. This is the link that you probably know by now, southsouthgalaxy.org and cities cluster. And this will take you to the platform. And there's a description. And then as you can see that there are 7 clusters here. And the themes came from the cities themselves. Cities are of the cities project. In UNOSSC, they have manifested interest and in the different thematics across the Sustainable Development Goals. As you can see, we have a cluster on COVID response and public health. We have e-commerce, disaster risk reduction, sustainable agriculture, waste management, sustainable transport, and the sustainable tourism, which is our cluster, the cluster of this community. So as you can see, the landing page of the South-South Cities Cluster comes with the 3 services that the cluster provides, which is solution from the global level. And in this part, it has to do with good practices, with the solutions that cities and partners of the Global South, they share. So all partners can have access to it. Advisory services are the different services that the Office for South-South Cooperation offers to partners across the globe. So this is a link on which partners send requests or ask for information and want to be more engaged. And the community of engagement is the part of the cluster that has to do with the community in a platform that's much more interactive, where people can actually comment with each other, share information more directly. As you can see, there are the 2 links that link directly to the South-South Galaxy. The South-South Galaxy is a platform that's open, and the best experience is to create a profile that I know that many of you have created already. And the moment that the partner has a profile, and they can have access to a more tailored experience. But the information of South-South Galaxy is open, so you can find in this button Galaxy, all the organizations that are part of the platform, and also the experts. There's a list of experts that you can have access to as well. There's a list of recent news and updates that in this case have our webinar here, as you can see. The capacity development initiatives is related to what we saw today in this first part of the event, which are the opportunities for partners and cities to get knowledge in terms of training, in terms of capacity development, more specific. So there are different opportunities offered by different partners. And there's a little map which shows where all we're still updating them, but some of the cluster members are. So to give an idea about the experience itself, I would like to enter the cluster, the cities cluster. That many of you, once again, thank you for all the time expended here in creating the profiles and creating the profiles on Galaxy. And once there are profiles in Galaxy, they're by institution. And here in the cluster, the cities can be seen per name. Each city has their own profile. And let me start with Anian, for example, in China. So there is the profile of the city. And to connect, please click in the icon below. So if I connect now, it would take me to the profile of the city or the institution representing the city in the Galaxy. So this way, when you are already connected, you can connect directly with this partner, and you can see the information about the city. You can go through the website and see the solutions they have posted, etc. So going back to the cluster, this is how the profiles are. Allow me to introduce you to other profiles. For example, we have our great partners of Querétaro, and there's the profile of Querétaro, and there's the connect. This is the municipality of Querétaro, for example. And now I'm going to show how to sign in to the cluster. So if I am in the landing page of the cluster, I will need to enter to log in to my Galaxy. So you go to sign in. In this case, I save my, each of you have the user and the password. So this is how you do it. If you do not have if you're not part of the Galaxy yet, you can sign in and create, and please, or get started. So please reach out if you need any support on this. We've been supporting many city partners across the country, so we would be happy to continue doing that. So this is my profile in the South Galaxy. So now if I enter through the city cluster, I can enter directly. Apologies. And so now through my profile, I can see here are the organizations there, all the cities that I have already interacted with them. And there you can save the organizations you want. You can explore organizations, find a solution, manage connections, and submit requests. That's one of the things. So if we go back to the cluster, once we're in, it's interesting to see that the good practices, again, you have the good practices here, the advisory services and community of practice. If I engage through here, the good practices, it will lead to, from the cluster, it will be already selected the good practice related to sustainable tourism. This is important. We try to make the experience more specific according to the thematic area of the cluster. So you can see experiences from across the regions of organizations or institutions working on sustainable tourism or heritage protection. So you can directly connect with them. Another interesting feature of the cities cluster is the community of practice, in which you may sign in, you sign in, you enter the community of practice, and it leads you to this global thinkers. You might have to sign into global thinkers for the first time, but as you know, many of you have received the invitation for this event in the Global Thinking platform. We created the webinar there, and it's important to see that some knowledge products are shared there as well. Well, we have uploaded that. And the difference between the Galaxy and the platform of Global Thinkers is that it's a bit more interactive here. So if you go to a stream, for example, you can see all the information I have uploaded. You can enter and start commenting. The cluster, we can create a discussion inside the cluster, and according to whatever the interests of the cities are. And we'll be happy to support all the cities on this. And finally, another important thing about the cities cluster, it's the information, the knowledge products that we have. So for example, as Carlos and all the colleagues from UNESCO were presenting, and Lizette was presenting before, the documents that they mentioned, for example, we have here the knowledge products of the project summary of the pilot project in Mexico. And we also have the memory of the project in Spanish for all of you that prefer to read that. So the information is available here. And also the guide that we have in Spanish and in English as well. The guide for cities on promoting cultural heritage in digital media that Lizette explained. It's already mentioned there. It's already uploaded there. So really, the platform is there to be used. The platform is ready. The media gallery is also very appealing. The UN Office for South-South Cooperation is happy to continue maintaining this platform and sharing information that you find relevant, creating more interesting discussions. There are many things that we can create, but it's up to the cities to continue interested and continuing engage. So thank you very much. I'm receiving a lot of messages right now. Thank you. Thank you so much for the great messages. I see a lot of excitement about the platform, and please engage. We created all this platform and all this functionalities for the city partners such as yourselves to use them. So we would like, please send any questions that you might have here about this. We will be happy to answer them by message, or we can have one-on-one sessions or conversations about this. And now we would like to approach the last part of our event, the question and answers session. So we imagine that those of you who are not familiar with the platform will have many questions, as I said, but we're ready to address them here on the chat of the webinar. As I said, the community of practice is a great opportunity for cities to get to know each other. So it's important for you to know that both Galaxy and the Global Thinkers, they have translation provided by Google. So if you write in Spanish, it doesn't, or in any other language, in French, in Arabic, it is translated into English, so other partners can see. That was as a new feature that the platform has now that we're very proud of, because the language barrier was a bit of a difficulty before, but now it's all translated. So to facilitate the communication and the future cooperation. I have received a few questions, particularly that I would like to leave here as I will put them in the chat, but I think it's important to have them as maybe triggers for future conversations, either through the platform or through here. So the first question is, it would be interesting to know how city partners use the Sustainable Development Goals in their targets related to tourism on a practical level, and how city partners identify cities which they would like to be interested in cooperating with. I think this can be answered through the platform. It's easier. The South-South Galaxy, the machinery, it allows people to connect. For example, it uses artificial intelligence, in which a partner is automatically connected with partners who have similar profiles. So that will be really a good opportunity to identify those partners. And maybe there are other partners who are doing something different that you can also connect with. Finally, the third question, what are the digital media channels city partners use for promotion? This has to do with what Lisa was presenting. It's interesting to know, share experiences about what is your experience in using digital media, how cities are promoting. We have received so many creating innovative solutions on this, so it will be great to hear more about it. Also, for example, we have great experiences from cities such as Querétaro, who have uploaded solutions already in the platform for cities to see, and they have been very innovative too in terms of design, and so that's something that we can definitely continue promoting and sharing. Okay, I will leave the floor open for any questions, if there will be any. Please, you may raise your hands, or okay, very well. Okay, if there's no further questions or comments, I would like to thank everyone for being today here. thank you so much for UNESCO Mexico for waking up very early to be able to coordinate with me with our team this event, for the team at UNOSSC as well, for all the city partners that are being very, very engaged on this. I think it's a good moment. Oh, I have a question from Madhu from India. Please go ahead, Madhu.
Yeah, good evening. Namaste from India. I just had a question. You have a panel of experts. Who are these people and how do one register for the expert if one feels like?
Okay, we can definitely talk about it. You mean the experts inside the galaxy?
Yes.
Yes, we can definitely provide you. There is a list of experts. We can go through it. The experts, maybe Rafael would like to respond to that and add things. Thank you.
Sure. Hi, Madhu. Thank you for your question. So the experts on the galaxy are mainly UN SDG experts. So basically, we divide them per SDG. So if they have expertise on, for example, gender or poverty reduction, we include them on the galaxy and all the information about them, so people can contact them directly. So the contact to partners or to experts are not necessarily done through the platform. It's just a place where we provide information on experts that are willing to provide a little bit of time and to clarify any questions or support in any manner that is within their power on specific subject areas. You asked whether you can register as an expert. We don't have a registration link through the galaxy. As I said, most of these are either UN experts or close partners. So, but since you are a partner in this project and you are participating here, what you can do is submit some sort of information about yourself and what kind of expertise that you have that could be useful in terms of South-South cooperation for the SDGs. And then we can also include you. So it's not restricted to, so if there is expertise that is available and that is, and if you are willing to provide this expertise to our members, then you are welcome to join.
Thank you, Rafael. Yes, in the website that in the second link, then advisory services, you can link directly and contact us with this kind of question, and we will be happy to guide you through it. Thank you, Madhu, for your question. Now I would like to give the word to Gerardo Carmona, and because there's Querétaro Creativo, which was an organization that worked in the city level, they have shared the solution in the South-South Cities cluster. So please, Gerardo, thank you so much for coming today and sharing the solution with us.
Hola, ¿qué tal? ¿Qué tal a todas y a todos? Muchísimas gracias.
Hello, everybody. Thank you very much. I'm going to share my screen with you. Well, the truth is that for us, the platform has been a great asset in recent times, with the goal of showing some of the actions that have been carried out since Querétaro was appointed as a creative city, and the link with different entities, both governmental organizations and private organizations. And for us, the platform is an effort to present these efforts in a global way. We are on the platform now. You will be able to learn the mechanism through which we were created. It was action generated after the pandemic, actually during the pandemic, with the goal of reconnecting the creative community and the cultural entrepreneurs in the city through tourism strategies. And for this, we created this platform where we can see the different possibilities that through our mobiles, tourists in Querétaro can connect with businesses, spaces, experiences, and activities that are within a 300-meter range of the mobile of this person, close by, so they can create their own tourist route, focusing on these creative aspects of the city. So this platform works through sensors of MSCN, where you receive immediate messages to your mobile. For example, you're in the main square, and thanks to the fact that you're there, close to this main square, you will find the following museums, the following galleries, the following theatrical events, the other shows, events, whatever. So that's the way the creative agenda works. Simultaneously, the creative agenda functions with support to generate a mapping of the local creative industry, i.e., it doesn't only work for tourism, but it also works analytically in order to recognize where the creative assets are, what activities have been carried out through the year, what possibilities of growth they have, what economic branch they generate. Currently in Mexico, we don't have such a robust analysis of creative industry. So we aim to be able to articulate and actively map in a way that can be registered of who use and who purchase, who link to the creative industry, and who generate actions and activities for this creative industry. So the creative agenda is already on the platform, and it's linked to the government of the state of Querétaro that are highly interested in participating in this project, which is part of the articulation with the municipal government, specifically with the tourism department that is also carrying out a management plan regarding cultural and creative industries in the municipality. So this is a solution that comes from the civil society. We belong to civil society, but it looks at the public policy generated by the government, and Querétaro Creativo is an ally to strengthen these actions and to solve needs that local creative industry
Thank you so
has.
much, Gerardo, for being the first member of the cluster to upload the solution in our platform. The experience of Querétaro is quite interesting, and it really talks about the creative economy or creative tourism, the agenda that's very important for the cluster as well. We talk a lot about the heritage, but this part is also very, very interesting, very shareable. And the experience that you had with Brazil as well, the component of social cooperation can be definitely highlighted and replicated in other places. So thank you so much for that. I received a question also from Morocco that it's a great question actually, because it talks about how about city partners that would like to be interested in other thematic areas beyond tourism. So the city clusters they have 7 themes. So definitely city partners are very invited to reach out to us, and we can create a profile in other areas they would like to work on. Happy to support that as well. So, okay, one last round. Anyone would like to ask a final question? Okay, it was a pleasure to host you today, a pleasure to see faces of people that have been working with us for a while. I invite you again, another call for cities. We are here to support you. We are here to help you share experiences, share knowledge, and promote more cooperation between cities. So thank you so much, and I wish you all a very good day. Bye-bye. Thank you. Thank you
Thank you. Bye-bye.
so much. Bye-bye.